Get this thing going. Okay. Avi, okay. Now we can start. You have a bundle of pages here. We're going to start here with the haomer, Gemara about sefirat haomer. But there's really a very interesting story that I want to talk about, and also we'll talk about Mordechai. Remember Mordechai from Purim? He has something to do with this, believe it or not. Okay, so sefirat haomer. Come, Roy, come sit. Oh, thanks, if you don't mind. It's for me. Do that. Thank you. Sefirat, I appreciate it, Roy. I don't always get. Sefirat haomer in the Torah, like as I was saying, uspatem lachem mimahorat hashabbat. So we have a couple of pisukim here. This is a pasuk in Parashat Re'eh. Parashat Re'eh, it says, Shiv'ah shavuot tispor lach. 7 weeks you should count for you. Me'achel hermesh bakama. From when the sickle is going in the standing grain. When it's me'achel hermesh bakama. When it starts to chop it down. Tahil ispor, you should count. Shiv'ah shavuot, 7 weeks. And then, ve'asita hag shavuot. And then it comes shavuot. This is a Parashat Re'eh. We have also in Parashat Emor, also we talk about it. Parashat Emor we say, Ya'asol HaChodesh. It says over here, let's read a couple of Pisukim about the haomer, okay? Parashat Emor, we read these on the holidays, guys. We just read this on Pesach. When you come to the land, that I give you, you should cut the cuttings of the grains from the field. Remember this? You have to bring the haomer, the beginning of the crop, to the kohen. And he waves the haomer, and you do korban. And then it says, Uspatem nachem mimahorat Shabbat. You should start counting after the Shabbat. You count? What do you count? Miyom haviachem, from the day that you bring et haomer atinufah, the korban haomer. What do you count? Sheva Shabbatot temimot tiyena. You count 7 complete weeks. Okay, so this is the Torah says, Parashat Emor. Now, it says, right, it's very good, Roy. It says over here, Sheva Shabbatot. And then also in Parashat Re'eh, it says, Sheba Shabbatot Timimot, 7 weeks. So Shabbat is also called a week. Okay. Now, what is this haomer all about? So there's a mitzvah in the Torah that the new grain that grows in the field, which is called hadash, cannot be eaten by us until we bring first of the grains to Hashem. You have to bring the korban haomer. So in Israel, a lot of people keep this, and even in America, Maran Shulchan Aruch holds this applies in America also. So it's a very controversial thing, but most people, I think, don't keep it over here, but Maran holds it. So basically, you have to eat yashan. You ever hear people say kemach yashan? Which means yashan means you have to eat old wheat, last year's wheat.
So you bought it at Cambridge.
Yeah, if you're buying from kosher from Cambridge Farms, it's a shenatayim, 2 years old. But so the halacha is you have to eat the old wheat. When are you allowed to eat the new wheat? Only once you give Hashem his portion first. When did you give Hashem the first portion? But when you gave him the korban haomer. The haomer is a bundle of grain, of barley. When did you bring the korban haomer? Mimahorat Shabbat. That's what it says. Mimahorat Shabbat. The day after what? The day after Shabbat, it says in the pasuk. But we know it's not the day after Shabbat. So there's a mahloket. What does this mean? You do this mimahorat Shabbat. You bring the haomer after Shabbat. The Sidukim and the Baitusim were two students of 2 schools of thought that they started basically, quote unquote, let's say Reform Judaism. The Sidukim, the Sadducees, I think they call them, and the Baitusim. They held that what the Torah says is literal. Only Torah shebichtav, no Torah sheba'ateh. And so the Baitusim says, well, it says in the pasuk, Mimahorat Shabbat, you bring the Korban haomer after Shabbat, which means the first Saturday after Pesach, the next day you bring the haomer. Whatever Pesach falls out. So if Pesach is Tuesday, we're going to wait until Saturday. And on Sunday, it says, Mimahorat Shabbat, after Shabbat, you bring the haomer. And that's when you're allowed to eat the Hadash wheat. The rabbis, the Hakamim say, no, Shabbat doesn't only mean Saturday. Like Shabbat can mean a holiday. How do we know? It's the best example. Yom Kippur is called Shabbat Shabbaton. It's not Saturday, Yom Kippur. It's not Saturday. Sometimes it is, not always. So a rest day could also be a holiday. And so therefore the rabbi said, no, Mimahorat Shabbat means the day after the holiday, not Saturday, the day after Pesach. So when do you bring the Korban haomer? The second day of Pesach. In Israel, there's only one day Yom Tov in the beginning. The next day, Mimahorat Shabbat, after the first day of Pesach, second day of Pesach, give the haomer, which means you can start eating your Hadash on Pesach. And the Beit Husim tell you, no, you got to wait till the Sunday after Pesach. There's the mahloket between the Hakamim and the Beit Husim. So far, so good? Yeah, Avi. Because of the idiots, that's the answer. Yeah.
Besides Hashem saying so, what's the rationale of counting the first?
Why we count? It's Gezat. Well,
besides saying that you should.
Okay, Hashem says to do it, number one. And then there's a lot of Kabbalah inside of it. There's layers into the haomer. And so the base level is Hashem said to, number one. The second, that's for everything. The second level is people say that we're counting towards Matan Torah, although it doesn't say this in the Torah. In fact, it doesn't call Shavuot Matan Torah in the Torah at all. Shavuot doesn't call it Matan Torah. It's more of a rabbinic thing. But that's what most people will tell you. And then the Kabbalists will tell you it's a 7 weeks times 7 days, and there are 7 sefirot. Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Malchut, and Hod, and Netzach, and Sod, all these things. And so the first day of the haomer is Hesed of the week of Hesed. The second day of the haomer is Gevurah of the week of Hesed. And basically you have 49 permutations of Kabbalistic sefirot, lights that you're accepting upon yourself until you do the culmination of them all on Shavuot. That's a Kabbalistic level.
Isn't it a form of just the continuation of
The
the
Ramban,
spirit of Pesach,
excellent.
a haomer,
Very good. So the Ramban says, very good. The Ramban says, hold on, look at Sukkot. Ramban says Sukkot has Sukkot, and then it has Chol Moed, and then it has Shemini Atzeret. Atzeret at the end. Atzeret means stop, right? Pesach has Pesach, Chol Moed. Where's the Atzeret? The last day of Pesach is not called Atzeret. It's called Aharon Shel Pesach, we call it. This time in the Torah. Ubiyom HaShibi'i. Atzeret, the Shavuot is called Atzeret. And so Ramban says the Atzeret of Shavuot is the last day of the holiday of Pesach. And the whole haomer is Chol Moed. Count building towards Shavuot. That's what the Ramban holds. Make sense, Yossi? So there's a lot when it comes to the haomer. But we're going to build it from the bottom. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the haomer is what released the Hadash. Yeah.
That was the mark. You put the haomer, you could.
Yeah.
But we don't do anything to do with Ben Amikdash.
Okay, very good.
All of a sudden, this one we want to do.
Excellent. So, Dr. Sofer, let's catch him up real quick, and then we'll answer your question. So, Dr. Sofer, you have a seat over there? There's something called Yashan. Yeah? Some people only eat Yashan, right? So, you have to eat the old wheat until Hashem gets his Korban haomer. When Hashem gets the Korban haomer from the new crop, now you're allowed to eat the new wheat. This was done on the second day of Pesach. Moshe is asking, we don't have the Beit HaMikdash anymore. There's no Korban haomer. So the whole mitzvah of Yashan should be there at the window. Some people would agree with you. Maharal Shulchan Aruch holds that it's not the Korban, so to speak, it's the Zman. So Maharal Shulchan Aruch holds you have to just wait the whole Zman of the second day when the haomer would have been brought. And then on the third day of Pesach, which is Chol Moed, second day Chol Moed in Israel, you can eat the Yashan, the Hadash.
it's grain that's grown before or after.
It's the grain that grew before. So right now, this is a time of year where all Jews eat Hadash. No one keeps Yashan. So, for example, there are people that I know back in my Lakewood days, they would go right now to the store and buy like 100 boxes of Kellogg's cereal, Cheerios, and all these foods and stuff all the closets and save it for the whole year. Because when the new crop grows, now it's forbidden to be used. So now everything's allowed because of the Zman. This, on the second day of Pesach, is the Zman when the Yashan, Marash Haruch holds, you have to wait the whole day.
But if you buy Kellogg's
Now it's kosher.
then
Because
it was grown before.
I know, but now the Hadash is allowed. Because
The Yishan is allowed.
yeah. Because the second day of Pesach is the permission slip. The second day of Pesach is the permission slip to eat all the food. Yeah. But they don't want to run. In other words, before the new grain grows, they want to lock it all in. Yeah, now in a month from now, 2 months from now, they want to lock it in. Now you can eat whatever you want.
When you no longer buy, now it's.
I believe it's Sukkot, but I can be wrong. It's when the new thing grows in. Now everyone can go to La Pizza. You know the people who don't go to La Pizza only go to Pacific. Now they can go to La Pizza. Maybe the other reasons why they want it. That's the main reason, by the way, from what I understand, because La Pizza is not Yashan. Yashan, Maran is Deoraita. It's not Yashan. Okay, good. It's not about the taste, I'll tell you that. Even though, no offense to La Pizza, Pacific is good, but La Pizza is. Okay, come sit. Okay, so we got this. This is the background. Now, this comes from the Pasuk. Usfartem lachem mimahorat haShabbat. We have this counting. Hashem says, right after the Omed, I want you to start counting. So these mitzvot are linked. Right after you bring the Qurban, I want you to count. When do you count? Mimahorat haShabbat. After Shabbat. What does Shabbat mean? Not Saturday. Shabbat means Hag, means the first day of Pesach, which means the second day of Pesach, we start counting Omed. That's what we do in Shul. The second day of Pesach, we start counting Omed. Now, we got this. Good. So the Baitusim are wrong, and we don't wait until Saturday. That's what they would say. Wait till Saturday, we don't wait. Perfect. Now, let us read the Mishnah. With this understanding, let us read the first Mishnah. So I circled it for you. Haomer, Misvat Haomer, it's in red circle. The mitzvah of the Omer, le'avi mina karov. It's a mitzvah to bring the Omer, the grains, from the close fields to Jerusalem. Don't go to far fields out there. Go to the closest one. I'm sure right outside the temple, there's a field that has barley. Bring it from there, the close fields. Lo biker hakarov. Let's say the close field has no ripe fruits because it has to be ripe. It has to be kadmel. It has to be aviv, ripe, bursting grains. Aviv means like ripe, and kadmel is a play on words. So what Gemara on Shabbat says, kadmel is kadmel. It's a full grain, nice and fat, plump kernels. Okay. Lo biker hakarov l'Yerushalayim. Let's say there's no ripe grains next to Jerusalem. Mevi'in oto mikol makom. Then we bring it from any place we can. Obviously, you need it. Ma'aseh sheba ha'omer migagot serifim. The Gemara says, even one time they brought the Omer all the way from Gagot Serifim, which is very far from Jerusalem, to prove to you, whatever we got to do, we got to do. U'shtei alechem, on Shavuot, we bring 2 loaves of bread from the wheat. They brought that all the way, Mibik'at and Suchat. They brought it from this town of the valley of En Suchat, also very far away. Now, let's see the Gemara. My Tama, what's the reason we want to bring it from we want to bring the Omer offering from the close grains, from Jerusalem fields? Ibayit Emma, you can say one reason, Mishum Kadmel, because it has to be moist and juicy kernels, and if you bring it from far away, it's going to dry out on the way. Ibayit Emma, or a second reason, Mishum De'en Ma'avidin ala Mitzvot, because we don't want to pass on a mitzvah. Whenever you have a mitzvah to do, you got to take it right away. So how could you be driving down the road and say, which field? Passing the field? Okay. The Hidah is a question. And the Hidah says, what are you talking about? Isn't there a halacha that if someone walks very far to shul, it's called schar pisiyot? They get rewarded for every step they take. So if someone has a longer walk to shul, because he decides to go to a long shul, he gets more reward for all the steps he took. And so how do you tell me now you should take less steps? Why don't you say the same thing by the shul? In Ma'avin al Misvot, go to the first shul. That's the Hidah's question. The truth is, there is a halakha that the Gemara that says you should go to the shul that's in your neighborhood. You should, if it's the right shul for you. But the Hida answers, and he says as follows. The Hida says, you can't compare. He says, in his words, both shuls are going to have a minyan. The question is, where are you going? Both fields are not going to be chosen for the Omer. Only one field is going to be chosen. And so the question is, you're only choosing one field. It's not an insult to the first shul, said the Hida. They have minyan without you. If they don't have minyan without you, you got to go to the shul in your city. If they have minyan without you, they're both getting the mitzvah. It's not a question of en ma'avirin. But by the fields, only one can be chosen. That's what the Hida tells us. Okay. Now, the Gemara is going to tell us a story, which is a really fascinating story. If you've never heard it before, I think you're going to find it interesting. Ma'aseh sheba haomer megagot sirifin. The Mishnah said one time they even brought it all the way from gagot sirifin. Moshe, what do you think this word means, gagot sirifin?
There's a place in Israel,
What is roofs? Let's see why it's named that, and let's see what's the story. Huh? Let's see. Maaseh sheba haomer megagot sirifin. Tanu Rabbanan. Let's see what happened over here. Keshesaru malchei bet Hashmonai ze'azeh. There was a civil war. Remember I gave a Hanukkah class to the ladies for sure, and maybe even to the men. I said it wasn't as glorious as you think it was. Post Hanukkah story was a disaster. There was fighting. The Maccabim family all went off there's none left. The Hashmonaim, there's none left. They went off the derech. All of them went off the derech. Gemara says they're all gone. Ken, Roy? Huh? So there was a civil war. The grandchildren of Matityahu, Kohen Gadol, they had fights with each other. Who was going to be the king? They aligned themselves with different emperors like Ptolemy and all these. They each got these guys behind them. It was a disaster. So, two brothers were fighting for control, and one of them was outside Jerusalem, and one of them was inside Jerusalem, and he made a siege around Jerusalem. Jews against Jews. They didn't let anything in or out the city. What else is new? Which one was on the outside? Hurkinos. Aristoblus mibifnim. And Aristoblus was from the inside. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, Shnei Achim hayu. There were two brothers. Ya haram, huh? Bechol yom, so how'd they do the korbanot? They can't get anything from outside the walls. They need animals for the korbanot. Bechol yom vayom, every single day. Hayu mishalshlin lahen dinarir bekupa. They would lower down from the wall money in a box to pay the people on the outside for an animal for the korban tamid. Uma'alin lahen tamidin. And in the same box, they would put the animal, pull up the rope over the wall. Every day they had a business deal. They hate each other, they're enemies, but there's always business. And so they paid good money, and they got a tamid cow every single day. Kibitz, not a cow, kibitz. Hayasham zakene had. There was an elderly man. Shaya makir bechokhmat yavanit. He knew a lot of the Greek wisdom. La'az lahem bechokhmat yavanit. He knew how to hint them in Greek, like sign language or something like this, and he knew how to talk to the people on the outside the wall. He was a traitor, this elderly man. This is not a good guy, the old man on the inside. Bad guy. Amal lahen, and he told the people on the outside, you're trying to siege Jerusalem and take Jerusalem. You're never going to get them if you keep giving them animals for the Qurban. It's never going to happen. Hashem is going to be on their side. So you have to stop the Qurban Tamid, and then you'll destroy the city. The next day, as usual, they put the dinari in the money, the flus, down the box. Hazir, and they brought back up, you just purchased a pig. When the pig got halfway up the wall, it stuck its nails into the wall, and the whole Israel spiritually, metaphorically shook. 400, the Gemara always uses this phrase, Israel shook, which means it was a big bad thing that day. Hashem said, what is going on with these guys? It got so bad, the fight, they're going to bring a pig to the Qurban Tamid. That's what they sold them. That was the beginning of the end. This is when they started going downhill, and they eventually lost the whole Jerusalem. At that moment, Amru, they said, Arur Shigadel Hazir. The Jews to Jews.
The Jews outside the wall.
When that happened, they said, Arur Shigadel Hazir. Cursed is someone who raises pigs. Halakha L'Maaseh, Shulchan Aruch, Hoshen Mishpat, Siman 409.
But you can't have the
Listen to this. Shulchan Aruch. Lo Yigadel Yisrael Hazirim Bechom Makom. A Jewish person is not allowed to have pet pigs. Afilu Lemshoach Ha'inorot Ve'en Tzarich Lomar L'Shora. For sure, you can't be an investment in business in pigs. This story, Halakha L'Maaseh Shulchan Aruch. It says Lo Yigadel, even a pet. Maran Shulchan Aruch.
why does the pig get such a bad rap?
Because the pig, we know, right? Because the pig says, look at me, I'm kosher. That's probably why. What did the Gemara say? Yeah.
The only one
He-
that
He doesn't chew his cud. He makes believe he's good. He's the faker who makes believe he's the guy with the black hat and the jacket. You think he's kosher. He's very bad on the inside. And so that's probably why the Gemara says when he put his nails into the wall, the worst part of the pig is the nails, is the split hooves.
fearless. Like, once you know it's not kosher,
No, they're not going to use it.
you really fool because it's harder.
No, the pig symbolizes.
I'm not a big advocate, I'm just saying it's
No,
getting that pretty big.
The Torah actually, trivia question. Everyone should know this answer. Everyone should know this answer because we just read this parasha last week. Remember the animal aliyahs? I just read all the animals last week. Not close. There are 3 animals. Yes, there are 3 animals that selected. The 3 bad ones. The camel, the hare, and the pig. Those are the 3.
No, but interesting.
No.
The pig is mentions in different tenses, each one.
Yes. Yes. One is future tense. Very good, Moshe. Yes. Lo yafris, he will not. By the way, the Gemara said there are sources that say the pig will be kosher when Mashiach comes.
I was going to say,
There's another Gemara that says, I forgot the name of the rabbi. I read this to the ladies one time on Sunday. There's a rabbi that says if you want, you can taste every forbidden thing in the world. Hashem created something that tastes exactly like pig, and something that tastes exactly like that blood. Remember this one?
There's a fish, exactly.
Yeah, it tastes exactly like pig. Very good, Joey. Okay, good. No, it says what it is. The Gemara says it's a whole list of things. Yeah, if you want to taste pig, eat this. If you want to taste this, eat this. If you want to taste blood, eat that. Kidneys. I don't remember what it was.
We don't know. You said it's only pig. Reasons are just kind of actually.
Right. The reasons are the commentary.
That's commentary.
Yeah. The Gemara, the Torah says because it has split hooves, but it doesn't chew its cud. That's what Torah says.
Only animal, I don't know, is that the only animal that's forbidden to be invested? Is there any other animal?
So I was hoping I would get this question because there's a whole thing about dogs, which is dangerous dogs. That's the whole thing. Yes, the answer is the Gemara. It says over here. Let's read the Shulchan Aruch. It says there are 4 simanim. En megadelin behema daka be'eretz Israel. Don't raise domesticated animals in Israel because they eat all the grass. There has come matzur and they're going to damage people's stuff. But you can raise them outside. It's only talking about when we're living in Israel and we have the whole situation. Second one is what I just read you. No pigs. The third one is asur legadel kelev ra. You can't raise a wild dog, a bad dog. The Gemara says a curse on someone who raises a wild dog, because it says a story of a woman who was walking by the house. Know this one? There's a woman walking by the house. She was pregnant, and the dog went. My mother-in-law's dog used to do that. Like a big white dog. The dog went crazy, and she miscarried the baby. And so the Gemara says, from that point, cursed is someone lo alenu who raises a wild dog, but then they say as long as it's not on a leash. So Maran Shulchan Aruch writes, asur legadel kelev ra. You can't raise an evil dog. Ela im ken hu asur b'shalshelaot shel bazel v'kashur behem. He must be on a leash. If he's on a leash and he can't hurt anybody, it would be okay. The poshiro bayom, he has to be tied up in the daytime, umatiro balayla, and you can let him loose at night. And then the last halakha is mishin aflu lo kilavim mahazim b'yerusha. That's what you got inheritance. It's not, you didn't buy so you got inheritance from me. You had a great uncle who passed away and left you a pig. And so the question is, what do you do? So it's a question of you could sell them. That's a whole nother siman. That's siman 117 of Yoreh De'ah, which happens to be the first siman in Kaf HaHaim that Chacham Ovadia took over for the Kaf HaHaim. I was just talking to my brother-in-law about this. Kaf HaHaim, did you know the Kaf HaHaim Sofer, he didn't finish his Sefer. Chacham Ovadia finished it for him. They switched over and that he died, Kaf HaHaim. So Chacham Ovadia, did you know that? No. So go to Kaf HaHaim, Yoreh De'ah, siman 117, it says, at this moment, the author left this world and his neshama went up. From here on out, it's Chacham Ovadia. And he writes exactly like the Kaf HaHaim. He's not looking for honor. He finished the job for him. So that siman is a siman if you're allowed to sell not kosher stuff. Okay, we're going back to where we are. That's Avi, that was all for you. And so the Gemara says, no raising pigs. Okay, let's finish the story. And then the Gemara said a second curse. This one's going to be even more controversial. And they said, cursed is someone who teaches secular studies to his kid, because this guy knew the Greek, and he was able to talk to the Greeks outside. So there's a long Tosafot, maybe next time. No, it's a long Tosafot saying, did everyone accept upon themselves this thing? Was it for a time period? Was it before the temple, after the temple? The whole thing. Tosafot brings names of rabbis who knew Chokhmat Yavanit, who studied other things. We know Rambam was a philosopher. That's a whole can of worms, but not for now, because we'll never move on. Chokhmat Yavanit. The exact translation, the wisdom of the Greeks. But Rashi says it was emotion. Rashi says remizot, some sort of sign language that they had back then.
I mean, that's a big jump to say. Machiavelli is secular knowledge.
Yeah, that was me just ad-libbing to it. No, the wisdom. I was just trying to stir up the crowd. No, Chokhmat Yavanit means Greek wisdom, whatever it was. So there's a whole Tosafot. Maybe next time. Let's move on. Okay. So
my question is, it could be that is more of a witchcraft.
no, it's not witchcraft.
The language of witchcraft.
I think it's a Greek philosophy.
It's wisdom. It's wisdom. Greek wisdom. Yeah, it doesn't say witchcraft in the Gemara. It doesn't say that. Okay, you ready? What are we talking about? Why are we saying this whole story? We're trying to come up with the story of when they brought the Omer. So the Gemara says, and this is the story of why they had to go so far during this period of time when they couldn't get animals, they couldn't get anything. They had the same problem. Where do we get the Omer from? And so the same story, they had to go really, really far just to import a little barley for the Omer. This is how that whole story came. That's why we said the whole story was to tell you that's the time when they had to go far. But while we're on this, the Gemara is going to continue talking about people with language, a couple of stories of language and understanding and wisdom. So let's just finish this piece. So the Gemara says, Kimata Omed, when the time for the Omer came in this story, Lo havu yad'im mehecha aiti Omer. Where are they going to bring the Omer from? There's a siege. Achrezu, so they announced, if anyone knows of a field that has barley, let us know. We need to bring the Korban Omer. Ata'ahu harsha. This, a Hayresh is someone who can hear, but Rashi says this is a Hayresh. He can hear, but he can't speak. He's a mute, Rashi says. And so he couldn't talk, but he can hear. No, not you. Otib hada yada aigra. What did the Hayresh says? He comes to the courthouse. He goes, I know where there's stuff. Where is it? He can't talk though. So he's motioning. And so he says, he puts one hand on the roof, the hadayade atzlifa, and one hand on the hut. They had little huts that they used to go under for hunting. And so there's something about a roof and a hut. Amar lehu Mordechai. Mordechai tells them, I know the code, what he's trying to tell us. Mi ika duchta, is there a city, Deshema Gagot Tzirifin, that the name of the city is roof huts, or Tzirifin Gagot, or hut roofs? Maybe he's trying to tell us the name of a city. Batku, they checked, Ashkahua, and they found there was a place, and they brought it. Gagot Tzirifin, roof hut. That was the name. Roofs of huts is the name of the city. And that's what the Hadesh was telling them. Now, who is this Mordechai? The Mordechai from Purim? So look at Rashi. Rashi says, yes, Mordechai from Purim. The same Mordechai. The problem is, look at Tosafot. Tosafot says, look at Tosafot. Amar lehu Mordechai, I circled it for you on the bottom. Hilush Bekuntilos, it says in Rashi, Hu Mordechai shebemei Hashverosh. The same Mordechai from the Purim story. Vetema, this can't be. That he lived that long. They're talking about hundreds of years from the Purim story to the thing. Tosafot says, it seems, Al Shem Mordechai Harishon, after the first Mordechai, who was a very wise man, they called all the people Mordechai who had a sort of wisdom. Al Shem Mordechai Harishon, Hayu Nekrein HaMemurim Al Shemo, Lefi she'ena memanim ela baki'im ba'alei sechel u'mada. Anyone who had the job of Mordechai was around for the temple. They built the temple, Yavash. He had a job at the temple, which we will talk about in a minute. What was his job? Mordechai got a job in the temple. Did you know this?
I know he was part of building it.
He had a special job in the temple, Mordechai. We'll talk about it in 1 second. It required a lot of wisdom. And so anyone who had his job after him was called Mordechai. And so the Torah says, no, don't tell me this is the Mordechai. She says it is the Mordechai. One more story. Now that's for the haomer. What are they going to do on Shavuot? Shavuot, they need the shtei lechem, the wheat. So, Kimata, where are we? When they wanted to bring the loaves of bread for Shavuot, where are we going to bring the food from? The wheat. They announced, does anybody know of a field that has wheat? That same guy, the Harsha, the Harish, the mute comes. And he said, I know where it is. This guy knows where everything is. Otiv yadeh ayineh, he puts one hand on his eye, v'hada yada asichra, and one hand on the door latch. Amadim Mordechai, and Mordechai says, you know what he's telling us? Omi ika duchta, is there a place, deshema en suchar, the eye of the door latch, or suchar ayin, or the door latch of the eye? But and they found it. Yeah, it's called the En Suchar. Genius. This old man Mordechai understands everything he's saying. Now, another story about understanding Mordechai. Hanahu shalosh nashim. There were 3 women in the temple times. The aitu shalosh kinin. They brought 3 nests. It doesn't mean literally nests. They brought 3 birds. Kinin is the code word for birds, bird offerings, sacrifices of birds. So 3 women come to the temple. We want 3 birds for our sacrifices. Okay, what are the sacrifices for? Because every sacrifice is different. Some is a hatat, some is a olaf, some is burnt. Hada amar lezibati. The first one says, this is for my ziba, for my flow. A ziba is like a nida, a zaba. V'hada amna leyamati, for my sea. My yamati is also a flow, like a yam, a ocean. Maybe also she means the flow of blood. For my time, the ona. Ona is also for nida, and also the ona, or it could be for the time. I counted 7 days, I did my time, now I have to bring it after I'm nida. So it sounds like all 3 are nida. Zaba. Zaba is the biggest nida. These days, it's all the same. We don't know the difference these days. Sometimes when I teach the hatan classes, I teach this to the boys, never heard of this in their lives. We just use the word nida. In the real days, there's not the word nida. There's nida. There's zava. There's zava gedolah. We are strict, and everyone thing is the same. But in the old days, there's all different categories. So zava gedolah was the biggest one. Okay.
This is the korban that
They had to bring korban if there was zava gedolah. 3 days in a row with secretions. Okay. Sabur mina zibati zava mamash. So everyone thought, this lady, she has a zava. Okay. Le'amati namash, for her flow. La'anoti, la'anota mamash. No. Tichulu hatat. Okay, yalla. So the guy's like, yalla, it's all hatats. All of you guys is korban nida, all hatats. Next, they're pushing them along. Comes Mordechai. The hada olah. One is hatat, and one's olah. Each one brought two birds. One hatat, one olah. Mother Mordechai says, hold on. Wait a second. Shema bezov sichna. Maybe it's not a korban nida. Maybe it's a korban nidava of a thank you offering to Hashem. She was so dangerously flowing, too much flowing from her menstrual flow, that she was in danger and her life was saved. And so korban todah, not a todah, but a korban nidava. Shema b'yam. Not for Nazir, no. Shema b'yam. Nazir also brought a bird. Yes, but this story is not. But Nazir also brought a bird. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Also, Metzorah brought a bird. This week's Perasha. Metzorah brought a bird. Shema b'yam sichna. Maybe when she says with my yama, my sea, maybe she was at sea in a storm and she was afraid for her life and she was saved. She's saying thank you Hashem. So it's not a hatat and a olah. Shema be'ena sichna. Onati, my ona. Maybe it's aina, her eye. She's saying her eye was hurting her. And she had an illness in the eye. Gemara says eye illness is very bad. We spoke about this on Yachav Yadat one day. How let's not get into a whole thing, but we have to break Shabbat for health issues, for sakana nefashot. And so the Gemara on Shabbat goes through different things. That's sakana nefashot. You have to break Shabbat. The Gemara says, don't take this halachically. Okay, this is Gemara. Don't take this halachically. Gemara says anything with the eye is sakana nefashot. The Gemara Shabbat says anything with the eye is sakana nefashot. The Talmud believe that the eye. Tell me if medically this makes sense. The eye is like the window to the whole body. If the eye is no good, something very bad's going on. Okay.
Connected to the heart.
To the heart also, yeah. Okay, so Mordechai is saying, maybe you guys are reading these korbanot way wrong. It's not a hatat and a olah. They're all olah offerings, because all the nedava offerings are olah. They should be burnt. Baduk, they brought the ladies back. They said, hey, when you said yama, what do you mean? Be'ashkach. And everything Mordechai says was exactly right. So he was very wise. He had the power of words. He understood words. Even the Haresh, who couldn't talk, he understood him. V'hainu detanan, we're almost done. V'hainu detanan, this is what we said. Petahya ala kinin. Petahya was the name of an officer in the Beit HaMikdash. His job was the kinin, the birds. Who was Petahya? Have you heard Petahya before? Petahya is Mordechai. Petahya is Mordechai. It's his nickname. Petahya means he opens things up. Now it's his nickname. Petahya is Mordechai. Lama Krashmo Petahya shepoteach devarim vedoshan. He opens up people's words that are unclear and he explains what they mean. Ve'odea b'shavim lashon. He also knows all 70 languages. We know this from the Purim story because you overheard Bigtan Vateresh talking Tarshish. Gemara says, okay, so far so good. So Mordechai had a nickname called Petahya, and now we know. Trivia question, next Purim. After the Purim story, ask people in your family. When they built the temple, Daryavash built the temple, and they went to the temple. What did Mordechai do in the temple? Anything special? Answer is, he was the birdman. He was the kinin, ala kinin, which means basically, they used to have, if you wanted to bring a bird offering, you didn't have to bring a bird with you. You could bring money. They had a whole room full of birds. And they had shofarot, not really shofar that you blow. They're like pushkas, kupat tzedakah, but they call them shofarot because they have big openings in the top. You put the money in the shofar, and you go take your bird. And so this was Mordechai's job. He would sell the people the birds. He'd ask the person, why are you here? Oh, you're Mitzorah? Okay, take this bird for that one. Oh, you're Zava? That was Mordechai's job. Good? We're talking about burnt offerings of the birds. Most of the people brought birds when they were poor. It's an option for poor people. Poorer people brought the flower offerings, but if you had a little bit of money, you brought the birds. Okay, good. Now the Gemara says, hold on, you just told me he knew the 70 languages. So that's why we're praising him. Didn't they all know the 70 languages? The whole Sanhedrin? What's so special about Mordechai? They all knew 70 languages. Rabbi Yohanan says, "En moshivim Sanhedrin, you only get to sit on the Sanhedrin ela ba'alei chokhmah, if you're wise, Ba'ale mar'eh, you have a nice appearance. You can't be very ugly. Ba'ale koma, you have to have a stature. You can't be very short. Ba'ale zikna, you can't be very young. You have to be mature. Ba'ale kishafim, you have to know magic. Magic, you have to know. Why magic? It's a mahloket. Rashi says, let's say they're trying a magician on trial, and he's doing magic to avoid the punishment. So you have to counter his magic with your own magic. So you have to know, you have to beat a guy with his own thing. Some people say also, so you can really judge a magician, you have to know the magic. How are you supposed to say, oh, you're a magician? Sorcery is hayab mitah. You can't be a sorcerer. Real magic. Yes, right. Harry, but you have to be Harry Potter. They have to go to Hogwarts. What's it called? There you go. They have to go take a lesson. And v'yodim shavim lashon. Huh?
Once a big issue at the shul.
There was once. We don't talk about this.
Talking about the Rambam says that. Han said, no way. Rambam said there is no such a. Now you reaffirm what Han said that Rambam says it's only what is it? He said
Ahizat enayim. We did a Yahavedat on this, so we won't talk about that either. Chacham Vadia holds that you cannot even have any sort of magic, fake magic. That's all asur. Chacham Vadia says all magic shows are forbidden, even sleight of hand.
So no pigs, no magic.
Listen, you got fried fish, green beans, a fact about Mordechai you didn't know, and you lost pigs and you lost magic.
I have a question, it could be a separate thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand that concept. Oh,
That is okay. That is a whole thing.
You're burning it before Hashem. Seems
That is a whole.
that we accept it,
So, let me say this.
but it doesn't logically.
Let me try my luck like this. That's a very, very valid question. There are two massive schools of thought in Judaism about this. The pro-Korban people, like Ramban, Nachmanides, and those who don't seem to be so pro-Korban, who a lot of people will say would be Maimonides. Two massive schools of thought. Okay.
What are we saying? Bro, I know.
Ramban, no, I know, but some people would say Rambam, Maimonides, this is going to blow the whole class. It's okay, we're almost at the end. Let's read the last two lines, and then we'll do that. Let's read the last two lines. Why do they have to know? Hold on, we'll go right back to it. We'll finish with that. Why do they have to know all 70 languages? Because you shouldn't have to hear someone's testimony from a third party. You have to hear straight from the person. Ela dehava. So the question is, this is the whole question. Mordechai was so special. They were all geniuses, these guys. What's so special about Mordechai? Gemara says, Ela dehava bayal l'shani. Bayal. He would combine words. He knew how to combine this word and that word. He was a wordsmith and turn it into something. Mordechai Balshan. Mordechai was the Balshan, the Bayal Lashon. He was an expert at combining words.
What is another big the whole idea that they should have education because
Yeah.
languages.
Yes.
Clearly,
So I owe you this Tosafot. This is a huge Tosafot that we have to get to. We're gonna finish with Avi's question and then wrap it up. This is the beginning of the Omer Mishnah. The next Mishnah is the procedure of the Omer, which is a beautiful Mishnah, which I want to do next week. And then, so come back next week because that's really what the good stuff is. This is just a little preface with good stories. I'm selling the Torah. This is the Torah. We're going to go back to the Omer. I know, but I couldn't pass up. I was torn. Should I do this? This is a great piece of Gemara and a great story and pigs and all these things. How do you not? Mordechai, come on, you have to do it. But next week is the real goods.
find us,
Swine flu. Avi, let's finish with you. Maimonides, the school of thought from Maimonides and others is that Hashem only made us do the Korban because of our deficiencies. For example, does Hashem want the Korban? Does Hashem want us to eat meat? Or does he let us eat meat because we need to eat meat? So when the world was created, there was no meat. Gan Eden. Hashem didn't say to Adam, you can eat the food, the animals. Hashem said, zera and piriya'etz, zorei zara. You're a vegetarian. Now, I just have to say, there is a Gemara that talks about this. And one opinion in the Gemara says, maybe Adam HaRishon was allowed to eat already deceased animals that he didn't kill.
Wow.
So this is a whole nother mahloket. Everything is a huge thing. But I just want to give you a little piece of that. Ba'amizim says an example. After the Mabul, Vayarach Hashem et Re'ach HaNichoach, Noah made a sacrifice after the Mabul. And Hashem smelled it, and Hashem said to Noah, all the food is you to eat. All the animals is for you to eat.
I think that's where we're told most of
Wow.
Ach basar dam benafsho lo tochel. Very good. This commandment to Noah, coincidence that Hashem said you could eat meat after the flood, after the sacrifice? Was it a reaction to what Noah did? Or is it what Hashem really wanted? There's two ways to look at it. And so it very well could be, I think from the Peshat of the Mishnah, of the Chumash, Hashem said, dude, I destroyed the whole world because you guys messed up. I chose you to reset the world. You're the only guy. Noach is Sadiq. And you, the first thing you do when I give you a brand new world, you're the new Adam, sacrifice. We're back to this. You know what? Eat the meat. That's how I read the Chumash. That's how I read it. Which means Hashem is saying, you want to do it? You're going to do it anyway? Do it in a kosher way. Same thing with the Yefat To'ad. Yefat To'ad. If you go to war and you see the beautiful woman and you have the Hashak Daba, you're going to want the woman, take the woman. Hashem says, Rashi says, Hashem is talking to Yetzirah. You're going to want her anyway? Take it. Kosher, take her. And so sometimes Hashem does things for us. So Rambam, Maimonides, he doesn't write this in his Mishneh Torah, the Rambam, Mishneh Torah. He writes this in the Boneh Nebuchim, in the Guide to the Perplexed. He says some things that we do is because of our own deficiencies. Hashem said, you guys are going to do Avodah Zarah anyway. You're going to sacrifice anyway to idols. So I'm going to create a system where you can do it at least in a kosher way. Like someone told me one time that they told their son, you are going to go smoke weed anyway. So I'm going to buy it for you. Come smoke weed in the backyard. Don't smoke weed with friends. Do it in a kosher way at least. Right? So could be Hashem did this for the korbanot. That's the one school of thought. Ramban Nachmanides is a whole opposite school of thought, which they hold korbanot are extremely holy and kabbalistic. Nothing to do with deficiencies. And this mahloket is probably tied into another mahloket. What's the other mahloket? Where was the Mishkan a reaction to the Egel, or was it happening anyway? There's a mahloket whether the Egel happened first or the Mishkan happened first. And so some people say the whole plan was to have a Mishkan. From when we got out of Egypt, the whole plan was to serve me and slaughter animals in a Mishkan. Other people say no, only after the Egel HaZahav, because right after that we have the Perashah about the Mishkan. Only after you fell with the Egel, Hashem says, fine, I'll give you a Mishkan to make up for it.
But we don't have to.
There's a mahloket. We know that sometimes it's not, but this is the same. What I'm telling you, Moshe, there's three mahlokets, it's all the same mahloket. Who holds that we try to keep the order of the Torah and not make it mumble jumbled? Ramban, Nachmanides, he's the one. He holds, keep the order of the Torah. Whenever possible, if it's in order, it's in order. And so the Mishkan came before the Egel. It's because Hashem said, I wanted the Mishkan anyway. Other people say, no, the Mishkan really happened after the Egel. It would be, since you fall, right, exactly. You guys are showing me that you can't help yourselves. You're going to...
There's a flaw in that argument. So
what's the flaw?
The flaw is that if you say that Noah did this sacrifice right after it came out, so Hashem said, okay, fine, have it. When your attitude is, okay, fine, have it, then the idea of us suffering for not having a Mishkan, not having korbanot, and not really knowing what it is to be a Jew. So that
You mean now? Now.
They're really not lacking anything, because none of us, as a matter of fact, it opens the argument that we are much higher than them because we really don't have it.
So I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up because that leads to the next topic, which is extremely uncomfortable, honestly. which is some people say, and they believe, when Mashiach comes, there's going to be no sacrifices. I am not saying that. Because I am not saying that. A rational, but there are people who say when Mashiach comes, there's no chance for slaughtering animals. However,
So the whole idea of Tisha B'Av, it becomes weaker.
yes, Ramban Nachmanides would call, if I said that, he would call me an apikores. According to that whole school of thought. The whole point of Mashiach is the Bet HaMikdash, and if there's no animals, what's going to be in the Bet HaMikdash? And so, what I'm going to tell you is, I am not in a position to make a declaration about any of this. I'm just letting you know there's two massive schools of thought. Either way, the korbanot is good for us because either we needed it because we were handicapped and we needed it, or that was the plan all along.
Have you ever heard that when you said man's inclination for violence was sort of subdued by that doing korbanot?
I've heard that. However, you can say the complete opposite. Because when you do something, it makes you do that more. So if you start killing things, you become a killer.
Right, but I mean, if you were, instead of killing things, you're doing it with an animal properly, you don't have the inclination to violence.
True. Listen, in psychology, there's a whole school of thought. When someone has a phobia for something, let's say you're afraid of bats, like the Batman, right? What do? They put Batman in the bats, or some people just do the opposite, take him away from bats. It's two schools of thought. Yeah.
But doesn't this like sort of really, it's not just philosophy, it really changes the
This is
way-
core Judaism. This is the core of Judaism.
But what if you, there's no need to be-
Listen, I would say, if you look at-
that one addresses it from the point of view.
I have to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. I think the Nachmanides way makes more sense because the Torah is all about korbanot. I have to be honest. Look at our prayers. It does make sense. It makes sense on a rational level. We don't have it. Oh, according to Rambam. So that those people would say, now we're elevating, we're evolving, we're becoming a more. But also, you look at our Musaf. You'll see every prayer we have is about korbanot. It's all over. It's a tough one.
Can you imagine the Bika people if we have a Mashiach?
Maybe we should
Very big guns.
don't read this Rabbah.
You went on the Muneh Buchim, that's a good idea. But hold on a second. Avi, regardless of which school of thought you come from, you have to admit that in our lower state, we need this regardless. The question is only, and hold on, the whole idea is to have kavanah, that this animal should be you. And so, like they say, the 4 mitot betin are in the animal, right? Kaparot, for example. When we do kaparot, right? You know the kaparot Erev Kippur? And so, Moshe, yeah? What do we say kaparot? When you hold the animal on the neck, you should envision that maybe you should have gotten hanek, God forbid, and now the animal is. When you throw the animal on the floor, that's the stoning. Maybe you, God forbid, you should be thrown. When they cook the animal on the pot, because they used to give it to the poor people to eat the kaparot, that's the whatever. I don't know, the 4 mitot betin, sayaf. And so you envision yourself in the animal. This should have been me. It stirs some sort of an emotion in you. What are you saying?
I think, little song, is if you have the, it almost seems that it had to have been preordained that this would happen. Because if you're doing it just to appease human nature's need for sacrifice, if the parent says, hey, smoke weed, whether you're going to do it anyway, he's not exactly going to pull up an encyclopedia of weed and just go through every single weed and smoke this much on this day.
I think I hear what you're saying, but I think that school of thought would say Hashem. That school of thought would answer and say Hashem is giving us a large outlet to do it. However, if you look at traditional oral Torah, rabbinical Chazal as they call it, there's a midrash that says Adam Rishon had a korban, not in the Torah. There's a midrash that says Adam Rishon made one. So the midrashim are seemingly Cain and Hevel. You can. Right, but you can answer that. Cain and Hevel doesn't say he brought the sheep. It says helbeh, from the fat, which also could mean the choicest. For example, in the laws of divorce, when it says, we're getting way off here, in the laws of divorce, when a man has to give his wife a field, or in the laws of inheritance, if a child inherited a field, helbeh hasadeh, it means the choicest field. So maybe Cain didn't give the actual fats, he gave the choicest of the wool of the sheep. Maybe.
But we have to remember, they didn't have to be like, they had, this was their way to connect.
It was,
That was
Elip.
their connection.
there's so many avenues with this. Nobody knows the answer. Anyway, nobody knows the answer. According to the Pashup Pshat, if I'm teaching my kids right here, I'll be crazy if I don't just go along with the Pashup Pshat of the Torah that Hashem likes the Korban. I mean, this is more of a philosophical thing when you get older, you think about it.
It's the same way that Tefillah. Does Hashem need our Tefillah?
No, it's for us. Yeah.
Same way, overlook at that time was their way to connect with us.
The whole Korban topic can go on.
But I'm just saying, that's what they didn't have Tefillah.
But then that's a lot brings the very.
We're looking at this is we're looking at 2023 and saying, why did they do these things? But that was what they had. That was their connection.
I don't have an answer. I'm watching. I don't know.
You can't just say this was the connection to God. It's a commandment to the Torah. So
Right.
so you could live for.
But there's answers. But Dr. Silver, there's answers. I'm telling you, there's answers for every statement. You can. There's answers for every statement, both ways. Honestly.
The commandment.
The be hanam shalom ela sagas b'chud the yagdil Torah beyadi.